Teresa.
I'm Cheyenne.
And I'm Stephania. Do you ever wonder how certain animals live in inhospitable environments? Some animals with very diverse habitats are reptiles. Reptiles are a group of animals that are air-breathing vertebrates. They are different from most other animals because their skin is covered in scales. Since reptiles live in a lot of different environments, every reptile is differently suited to better survive in their habitat.
Their bodies have adapted to their different environments as a way for them to survive better. These adaptations include movement, survival, and the way they protect themselves.
We have 4 reptiles that we would like to tell you all about today. We have Mushu, Ollie, Mowgli, and Lemony. These scaly folks share many homologous traits, which means they share common evolutionary traits. In fact, throughout the video, you will find numerous examples of how the homologous traits have diversified. But there's another side to the coin. Analogous traits are traits that look very similar, but they did not evolve together. The traits evolved separately due to having similar environments that selected for such traits. We call this convergent evolution.
First, we will talk about the bearded dragon. This is Mushu. Mushu is native to the deserts of Australia. There are several visible adaptations that help bearded dragons survive such a hot, inhospitable place. Bearded dragons have really thick skin and coated with little spikes to help them look unappetizing and difficult to eat to predators. However, this is just a bluff. Bearded dragons can also puff their beards, which makes them look bigger to deter predators. The evolution of a unique skeleton grants them this ability. Particularly, their special lower jawbone and hyoid bone, which we commonly refer to as the Adam's apple, was modified to allow the lizard to puff up the beard.
These claws help the bearded dragons climb over rocks and brush. Although it doesn't seem like it, bearded dragons can actually run pretty fast to get away from predators. Bearded dragon claws help them climb trees and brush, which allows them to look out for predators. The bearded dragon's coloration is also a special adaptation. This tan color is perfect color to blend into Australia's desert environment.
Alright, let's move to another desert-dwelling reptile. Here we have Ollie. Ollie is a leopard gecko. These fellas are native to the desert fringes and frequents the arid grasslands of southeastern Afghanistan, western India, Pakistan, Iraq, and Iran. Although Ollie and Mushu share similar habitats, you can see that they look very different.
Ollie is a special morph, which gives her this orange color. Leopard geckos look like this in the wild. You might notice that Ollie's tail is quite large in proportion to the rest of her body. Her tail is where she stores nutrients and water for times when these resources are scarce. In addition, leopard geckos can drop and regrow their tails. Their segmented tails allow them to drop a part of it and escape in case of a predator latches onto it.
The leopard gecko's habitat is rocky with clay gravel soil below a layer of sand. In the wild, these claws help them burrow in sand to help them better regulate their temperature. Now let's look at another gecko with a very different habitat.
This is Mowgli, a crested gecko. Crested geckos have many adaptations to help them survive in their native habitats. Fun fact, crested geckos were believed to be extinct until they were rediscovered again on the island of New Caledonia near Australia in 1994.
As you can see, this rainforest habitat is very different from the desert. Crested geckos eat mainly fruit, which can be found high in the trees. Therefore, crested geckos have specialized toe pads and a prehensile tail, just like monkeys, that helps them climb trees and jump from one branch to another, making them semi-arboreal. These pads of a gecko's toes have a unique ridges called lamella, which can be used to climb very slick surfaces. They can even climb glass.
Crested geckos do not have the same tail regeneration that leopard geckos have, so if they drop their tail, it does not grow back. This is why you would likely never find a crested gecko in the wild that still has its tail. Finally, we would like to talk to you about a reptile that is arguably just a tail with a head. This is Lemony, a ball python. This one in particular has a different morph that is not seen in the wild.
This is a wild type which blends in better to their African grassland environment. Ball pythons have very different adaptations than the previous reptiles. For starters, Lemony is obviously the only one without legs. This is due to a mutation that happened a long time ago for a gene that controls for limb growth. In ball pythons, as opposed to other reptiles, it is possible to see that snakes once had legs. Yep, those are claws. These are the remains of the hind legs snakes lost during their evolution from lizard to snake millions of years ago.
Ball pythons are nocturnal and only hunt at night. They have heat-sensing pits along their mouths that are linked to the part of their brain where visual stimuli is processed. So, they can see infrared, which allows them to see in the dark. Do you ever wonder why snakes flicker their tongues? This is because they're tasting the air. They collect odors that are present in tiny moisture particles floating through the air, and this is how they find and hunt their prey.
When ball pythons find their prey, they have special jawbone adaptations to allow them to swallow their prey whole. Their jawbones are not fused to the skull like ours. They have a quadrate bone, which works like a double-jointed hinge, so the lower jaw can dislocate, allowing the mouth to open as wide as 150 degrees. Okay, that concludes this segment.
Stay tuned to test your newfound knowledge.
Bye!